So when I was 10 years old, driving back from family vacation, I had this brilliant idea in the middle of Colorado. I needed to go horseback riding. And my sister was immediately annoyed. Naomi, why do you need to go horseback riding? And my mom, totally nervous. Naomi, that is a wonderful idea, but we don't know where those horses have been. And my dad loved it. I'm telling you, this is a great idea. So the next thing I know, here I am in the middle of this horse stable. And I had been picturing kind of like one of those rings you might have in the suburbs of Chicago, but actually we were in Colorado. And before I know it, I'm sitting on a horse that's bareback. And the guy tells me, yeah, we ride, with one hand here. So all of a sudden, I'm gripping with one hand. He slaps the horse's ass, and off I go. And the last image I have is of my dad with this enormous grin from ear to ear. Because for my dad, there is no better way for his 10-year-old to learn how to ride a horse. Because for my dad, the best thing is to have a daughter who loves adventure.
That's because your dad's Iraqi and he has zero parenting skills. Which was totally fine for Naomi. You were a 10-year-old ball of energy, but I'm a 30-something-year-old ball of anxiety and low-grade depression. And so that tactic doesn't work for me. Our honeymoon, we went to Brazil. It was going to be this grand compromise. I was going to get like cosmopolitan Rio with like beaches and like bookstores and food and stuff. And Naomi was going to get the Amazon with like piranhas and like alligators and grubs we were supposed to eat for some reason. And I was going to do it because I love my wife and our marriage is predicated on like change and hope and the fact that if I didn't do it, there'd be some like curly-haired yogi with very good posture that would totally go with her, and I'd be alone with a choose your own adventure book and like internet porn.
That's a really attractive image.
Totally accurate one. So I go along, and like every stop on our honeymoon has like this moment of like abject terror where I'm like want to tear my skin off and go running for the hills, but then like I get into it and it's fine. And then we go to our last stop on the trip, and it's Salvador, which is this like beautiful like colonial city, and it's full of like art and music, and I'm loving it. We're gonna walk through like the painted streets and see these like beautiful buildings and everything. And then I open up the guidebook, and the first thing I read is that Salvador is the most dangerous city in all of Brazil, which is like saying something is like the suburb of New York. Like, they invented dangerous cities. Like, this is fucking horrifying. And so I'm walking the streets like a little wounded bird, like, the fuck was that? The fuck? What's going on? You know, and Naomi's like, be cool, you're fine. You were scared, but it always worked out. Just remember, it always works out. You're gonna be okay. And I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And I turn the corner, and in the middle of this crowded plaza, I see a white guy with no shirt and no shoes on grab a Brazilian woman by the tit, punch her in the face, and scream, "You're gonna have to find somebody else to lick your pussy." It's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
Which is a great mantra to use when you actually believe it. Whenever I would travel with my dad, I was 100% certain that I was going to die. And I used that mantra. And every time I did, in the end, I found myself having these incredible experiences. And that's what I would be trying to convince Aaron of in our couples therapy.
She's talking about Joe. Joe is the greatest couples therapist in all of New York City. He's amazing. And like his office, like we'd sit down in his office and like instantly we'd like pick up exactly where we left off. Like wherever we were during the day, we'd sit down in Joe's office and we'd just be like right back in our space.
Yeah, you know? I'm looking at you just like, you have ruined my life.
And I'm spitting like silent hate daggers at her like, leave me alone, you fucking bully. But like at the peak of like our craziness, like Joe would kind of go, try to make space for each other, and we'd like kind of try to make space for each other, and I'd
get up to use the bathroom.
Yeah, he'd make space for both of us, and then I would see in Naomi like that maybe I could understand her like frustration, and I hope she could understand me, and I'd try to make space for everything, and so back in Brazil, I'm trying to make space for like. It's it's going to be okay. But I have just seen a sex tourist punch a prostitute in the face, so I'm tired of making space. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the compromise. I'm tired of the whole thing. I want to go back to our room and read quietly. And I turn to Naomi to say, I want to go back to our room and read quietly, but she's off down a dark hallway in an unmarked building in a dark door. And I say, what the fuck are you doing? And she goes, I hear drumming. Which doesn't explain anything.
Explains everything.
But off she goes, and off I go after her, and like she's running up these stairs that are rickety, and I'm running after her, and we get to this like end of this like tiny, like crazy little hallway, and at the end of this hallway is this door, and she goes right through the door, and there in the center of this room full of drums is this shirtless dude with dreads, and he's just like, and I have the back cover of Naomi's book, which is called Samba, A History of Violent Crime as it relates to the music business in Brazil. So I know that this guy is an axe murderer, but I also know that this is fucking Amos. This is the yogi that's going to take my wife away from me. And he's, and he stops and goes, if you come back after lunch, I will teach you a lesson. And he said, if you come back after lunch, I will teach you a lesson. And I know that that's code for, I will fuck your wife while you wait in the hallway, white man. But I'm like, I think we have plans after lunch. And to my horror, I hear Naomi say, oh, great, we'll be back in an hour. So lunch was tense.
Yeah, we were firmly in our arguing positions. Mine being, you have got to try new things. You're not going to know what you like unless you try new things.
And I'm like, I'm 30. I think I know what I like, Naomi. Because that's what I do, like, on the outside. On the inside, I'm, like, freaking out. On the outside, I'm like, I'm cooler than all of this.
Yeah. And, I know in the back of my mind, not too long ago, I've said these vows. I'm supposed to be considerate and kind and understanding. And, I kind of know that really I should be saying, God, it must suck to be so anxious. But really what I'm feeling is you fucking hipster prick. I mean, why does everything have to be proven cool before you're willing to try it? And I'm furious. And I realize in that moment that it's like my dad. Like, I know I'm doing the dad. I know what's best for you, and you need to join my adventure, and you don't know what's good enough for you. And just at that instant, I hear this grumble behind me. Fine, I'll go. And I don't know if this like primordial urge kicked in and Aaron felt like he needed to protect his woman, or more likely, maybe he was just too freaked out to be on the street by himself while I was up in the class.
That was that one. That was the one.
But either way, he comes following along, trailing slowly behind me. And we get to the building and we walk up the stairs and I can hear the drumming and I'm so excited. And I feel Aaron's just like weight, like dragging along, trying to get up those stairs. And he gets into the room and it's filled with other people. And he was a little bit surprised and almost was wearing a shirt. And we come into the room and it's it's beautiful. There are drums everywhere. And the guy immediately takes an attraction to Aaron. And Aaron's a musician, and he's a terrific musician. So it took only a moment for him to get this rhythm. And so before I know it, Aaron is playing this one rhythm. And then everybody else in the room gets a drum and gets a rhythm. And then suddenly we're all making this music together. And we're rocking out. So much so that a group of Japanese tourists come upstairs and take photos of us because they think we're the real thing. And I look over at Aaron, and he's smiling from ear to ear.
I have no explanation for this. Except that the earliest memory I have of my dad is when he and my mom and I went to Disneyland, and we get there, and as soon as we get there, he finds a bench outside of Cinderella's Magic Castle, and he goes to sleep. And like my mom and I go on like It's a Small World After All and the teacups, and like 2 hours later we come back, and like a magic hobo, he's still asleep next to the Cinderella Castle. I don't know how this works out for us. I don't know where we go from here, to be honest. If we have kids, I don't want our kid to be raised by this Iraqi bully. But on the other hand, every time my awesome wife has a cool idea, I don't want to just go to sleep on the bench outside of the Cinderella's Magic Castle. So I don't know how we get over this at all. But I do know that we believe in the power of compromise and that we do believe in the possibility of change.
Yeah, but best of all, we really believe in good couples therapy. Thank you.
Take a